Ladies and gentlemen, let's Red Gaming video. Let's discuss brand deals in video gaming, shall we? Specifically for YouTube channels, Twitch, and so on and so forth. So I was going to create this video a couple of days back, but then I decided against it. But now Jim Sterling's just created a video which actually highlights some of the illicit stuff that's happened in Shadow of Mordor. The contract, basically, that you enter into, the brand deal, if you want to cover their content. And after hearing some of the finer points of the contract, I decided that, you know what, I wanted to say my piece on this. So, to give you a little bit of backstory, Shadow of Mordor, to actually cover the title, you had to be invited by Warner Brothers and the advertising agency that's working on their behalf, known as Played Social, as part of a brand deal. So, the largest YouTubers actually got invited into this, and everyone else is getting content ID'd, including, by the way, Jim Sterling, who has around 70,000 subscribers on his YouTube account. In addition to that, other rather large reviewers and media celebrities, including, for example, John Bain, also known as Total Biscuit, provided some tweets and said, well, I actually don't want to review this because, quite simply put, they're only offering me this review code on the contingency of basically it being a paid sponsorship. And him being fairly influential, to say the least, he managed to eventually pull so many different favours and wrangled a code for the PC pre-release, and has since covered it. Now, before I get into the video itself and my points and opinions on this, I want to make something clear. I don't have a particular problem with brand deals. I do feel that there has to be some specifics. For example, it has to be, well, mentioned. In other words, that it's fairly obvious that it's a paid promotion. And also, I don't think that it should be made to be incredibly biased. So in other words, if I'm going to be asked to show off something, I'm going to show it to you naturally, and of course I'm going to try to be fairly positive about the game, but at the same time I'm not going to out and out lie and basically try to push the game on you to the point where you don't feel that your trust in me is warranted. In other words, you feel that I'm basically taking advantage of your viewership, which I think, to be honest, is pretty standard. I don't think that really should need explaining. But, unfortunately, that's just where you're wrong. So, Jim Sterling, I'm uncertain how he did it, he didn't elaborate, but in a video, I'll link it in this video's description, so you can check it out, and I highly encourage you to do so. He mentions pretty much the terms and conditions, some of the terms and conditions, some of the highlights, if you will, regarding the contract that you would enter into if you wanted to show footage of this title. Now, you've got to remember that this essentially is promoting the game. And, for example, one of the sections of text is as follows. Videos will have a strong call to action, a clickable link in the description box for viewers to go to the game's website and learn more about the game, to learn how they can register and play the game. Watch videos will have at least 5 calls to action. So in other words, Twitch stream videos and so will have at least 5 calls to action. Videos will be of sufficient length and to feature gameplay and to build excitement. There was even a section, by the way, in this that prohibited the demonstration of bug in the title. So in short, if there's an issue with the game and the game has like a major breaking bug, yeah, that's going to have to be edited out. The videos must promote excitement, positive excitement about the game. Sentiment is another word they use. In other words, you can't be like, I actually didn't like that part of the game, or I think they could have maybe done this a little bit better. Strangely enough as well, you can't even mention Lord of the Rings or Hobbits or any of the characters and that type of thing, which is just, to be honest with you, fairly bizarre. That's not even innocuous. That's just kind of weird, if I'm totally honest, given the source material. And yeah. Now the problem I've got with this, there's a couple. people who are doing legitimate reviews, I've actually seen a couple, and this is one of the reasons, by the way, that I've not covered this game. I was tempted, I was actually trying to contact Warner Brothers, and I got through to their support, and then I got an email address, and then I heard about this stuff, and I was like, you know what? If I actually didn't like the game, and I've entered into this brand deal, I'm pretty boned. And to be honest with you, I don't think my channel's big enough to get the brand deal anyway, and the primary reason I wanted to cover the game was for the sake of graphics, particularly because of the rather, well, high demands for the graphics memory. But I decided, you know what, it's not worth my hassle. I probably could win copyright disputes because reviews are fair use, but you know what, there's so many bloody games that are coming out. It's just not worth my time and hassle and stress, to be totally honest. And if you look at that, that's not a good situation for me to be in. And I'm not just saying that on my behalf. I personally think this is a pretty shitty situation for all of us. And I mean that for the viewers as well. Because, I mean, and Jim Sterling put it best. How are you even supposed to trust the opinion of someone if they're forced, if they're basically saying, okay, well, it's basically having a gun to your head to point you in the direction of pushing the game. And the thing that makes this really weird to me is that the game itself would have likely have gotten good reviews. That's the thing. It's not like it's a terrible game. It's actually fun. People are really enjoying it on the stream. And so this fairly draconian measure, these draconian measures weren't needed. People would have played the game and they would have liked it. But now you've got this really bad taste and this bad precedent. Because quite simply put, it means that any footage that you're seeing, if that footage isn't at risk of being taken down by Warner Brothers, well, it has to be ridiculously positive, and that's not a balanced way to go about the game. Sure, even Destiny has had a lot of criticisms, but you know what? Bungie hasn't copyright, struck people. I mean, maybe if you were to be like, okay, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to upload all of the OST to the, your YouTube channel, or put all of the free cutscenes on there or whatever. Fine, I can actually understand developers doing that. That would piss me off if I was a developer and all you're doing is just uploading pure cutscenes and nothing else. There's nothing else. I can understand that. But when it comes to critique or just unedited gameplay, and if you happen to find a bug, they're gonna copyright strike you in some cases, or actually, give you a content ID match. Is that cool? That's pretty damn wrong in my personal opinion. Say what you will about Electronic Arts, say what you will about EA, and a couple of other studios as well, they don't do this. You can rag on their game, you can criticize their game, you can go militant on their game, and they'll just accept it. They'll be like, okay, you know what, that's your opinion. They know the game's going to sell well anyway. But there are a couple of companies, I won't bother to mention them all because they're pretty synonymous with this by now, which are being really heavy on YouTube. But the problem then you have is that massive YouTubers who you would like to trust, you start to wonder how much influence and how much they're actually being influenced by the game's company. And one thing Total Biscuit mentioned is that, he doesn't want any more of this. He wants an end to this crap. And personally, I completely agree, because I feel that it's kind of ruining everyone's integrity. Look, here's my point. You, as a consumer, need to be informed. Everyone needs to be informed. If there's problems with the game, it might not necessarily be that the game sucks. It might be that it has major bugs on a specific graphics card or a specific version of Windows or a specific issue that you need to show how to fix. But if people can't create videos and actually speak about this stuff openly, it becomes so much more seedy, doesn't it? The fact is, these huge companies have these amazing IPs that people love, people want to cover, people want to see. And to be honest, it would provide so much more hype. I mean, let's just be totally frank here. Does Lord of the Rings really need censorship? Are you so pessimistic about your own game's design? In fact, one of the things that they are even trying to push heavily, by the way, are the game's combat mechanics and how brutal the finishes are and how diverse the orcs are, and how it's like, don't need to push that stuff because it's going to be just in an obvious point. It's like I don't know, someone coming up and saying to you, oh, look at the finishes in Mortal Kombat. Geez, look, that guy's head just got decapitated. Well, that was just a walk in the park. No, it's fairly brutal. Yes, it's obvious, you know, your rave powers and so on. And that's the kind of the nature of the beast. If you're confident in your products, you're confident in the game, just let the game be reviewed. Because when people find out about this stuff, when people as a whole learn about these contracts, it's going to create even less confidence in the gaming industry as it is. We've already had incidents like Gamersgate, we've had the Resolution Gate, we're probably going to have another gate within a couple of days. It's probably going to be called the Garden Gate. The point being, this stuff happens when consumers don't know whether a title is going to be good, and with these massive companies that are asking you to plonk down like $40, $50, $60, $100 sometimes with the special editions of the game, don't you think it's kind of cool for you to know whether the game's worth even you putting down that money? Reviewers and critics should not be put in a position, or even think about being put in a position where they have to enter a brand deal to even discuss a game. It's not good. And it's not just guys like Total Biscuit that struggled. And think about how big TB is in the gaming industry. His channel dwarfs ours. He's massive. His channel dwarfs even like Jim Sterling. He's got like almost 2 million subscribers. And yet he had problems getting the game on a non-brand deal. But also others as well, such as Rock, Paper, Shotgun. They physically just didn't want to give out the code unless certain criteria and conditions were met with the game. And that's just not good when you're even dealing with huge websites like Rock, Paper, Shotgun that are struggling to get a review copy of the PC game. I just don't understand the reluctance, if I'm totally honest. My final thoughts on this, because this video is already getting fairly lengthy, I don't want to start droning on. We YouTubers, and I don't care if you're someone who's got 100 subscribers or someone that's got 100,000 or 200,000 or 300 million subscribers. The bottom line is that when you're putting out content, you should be as genuine as possible. And, you know, sometimes you're going to get things wrong in a review. Sometimes you're going to come across a bug that maybe only happens because of your setup, or maybe you screwed up, maybe you didn't realize a mechanic of the game, or whatever. You know, that's fine, and that's how it should be. And that's where criticism of the review can come in, or comments that can say, hey, I think you're wrong, when people can, you know, argue against you. That's all the nature of free speech. YouTube as a medium is extremely young. Video reviews and people making content is still very young when you compare it to traditional media. Like going into the store, I remember when I was a kid, like quite young, and I used to, you know, rush down to the newsagents every month, and I would be so excited to pick up the latest copy of like the official magazines, for example, CVG or whatever. I'd be so bloody excited. You know, go buy PC Gamer and I'd be eagerly flicking through the review. I'm like, oh my god, this game's actually scoring well. I was so looking forward to it. A great example would be, since we're on the same subject anyway, of like games that are coming out, like Alien vs Predator 2. It got such a good review and I was so happy because I really wanted the title and I was so eager to play it. But now things are changing, and you know, you're getting these pre-release copies that are going to YouTubers and so on. But companies now are starting to realise this and are starting to take advantage of this. And I think it's something that we, and I mean the trio, so that's viewers, the audience as a whole, YouTubers / media personalities, and finally the companies. So they all need to find this balance where paid promotion is paid promotion, fine, not a problem. But make it fairly obvious, make it clear to the viewer. Oh, by the way, to be clear, in terms of Lord of the Rings, it is fairly obviously paid promotion if you look in the video description. Unfortunately, most of this stuff is buried under the promotional links of here's how to buy the game, and here's this, and here's that. So there is that to consider. So yes, I think paid promotion is absolutely fine as long as the audience realise it's paid promotion. Second point, I think that companies should not try to censor reviews. Let's Plays and so on, I'm not going to get drawn into that debate, quite frankly. Personally, I think it should be allowed, but that's just my personal opinion. But I think reviews, criticisms, and certain news and so on, you know, at the end of the day, it should be protected under fair use, and companies shouldn't try to get out of that, because at the end of the day, they're just making themselves look worse as well. And finally, for the audience as a whole, I would just encourage you guys to be really careful. I do mean this as well. Like, don't just trust an opinion on the internet. Always do your own research on the game. If you can try out demos, do so. If you can try it around your friend Bob's house, do it. Try to look at a couple of different people's opinions and so on games before you purchase them, particularly if they're full price, and so on and so forth. You guys are smart, you know what you're doing, so do use your common sense, it goes without saying, and make sure that if you see a review and it's only positive, no one criticizes it, there's no criticism in the game, and it's very carefully put together. Remember, this footage for Lord of the Rings, the videos that were actually shown, to clarify, they took 48 hours to approve the video. So in other words, the YouTuber in question, let's call them Bob, would create the video, they would then upload that video onto their channel, or they would send it directly to the company, and then the company would review the video, and they would say, okay, well, you're not being positive enough, or okay, this needs to be shown more. In other words, you're basically working for your supper. So it's not even like you're working the terms and conditions. You have to actually prove, you have to actually make sure that everything's 100% correct. And there are a couple of YouTubers who have already gone against this and basically said, nope, not doing this, I'm not comfortable with this, I'd rather not show the game anymore, forget it. Not necessarily in the Lord of the Rings context, but generally speaking. And this is why I'm saying it's not really good when it's not a bad enough that it's a brand deal, but you can't even show really or talk about really what you want in the game because the content is so heavily bloody monitored. Anyway, guys and girls and Lord of the Rings fans and gaming fans in general, I think that's just about it for this particular video. Hopefully you've enjoyed it. Hopefully it's given you something to think about. You don't necessarily have to agree with all of it. You don't have to agree with any of it, but hopefully you found something in there to at least think about. I shall see you soon. With any luck, you shall rate, comment, and subscribe, and share, and give me cookies, because I are hungry. Seriously, I'm actually really hungry. I need to get some food. Not cookies, however. I need pure sustenance. I'm thinking sweet potatoes and chicken, because that's how I roll. Anyway, hope you enjoyed the video. I'll see you soon. Take care, and bye for now.